So here we have, and then I'll do the, let's timestamp it. It's like 5 minutes, really quick, just recap. So the Visionlink client management tools allow for a case-based model. So you can do a disaster registration for individuals, and they can put in their address, and then they can work through their different situations, number of people in the household. And then, and I won't go through all of it because this is the Evan Wood speed reading version of the course. What we can do is we can then search for that client. Let's see, say we're looking for someone with the last name McQueen. There's a filter box here. You can download the results, and you can also search on any of the fields, any of the status if some of them are missing. Work through Marcia and Depankar to find identify change requests and send them up. I think there'll be a change management process where there are quarterly updates, but maybe monthly for the first month. So here we have all the information related to a client. Now this client, Jane McQueen, we're going to go through here. And there's a household tool that we'll get to in a second, but this is the same case. Any information that appears in a previous form or data is collected, it shows up. So this case-based model allows for you to serve clients in any number of programs for any number of services and across the full spectrum of the disaster. So response, you can do public registration, you can then do rapid intake, you do agency screening and triaging. And then you do maybe intermediate casework in advance of a long-term recovery or disaster case management program funded by FEMA. When you get into the full case management tool, this has all been built and aligned with FEMA's disaster case management program. This was road tested. This was road tested in Texas for Project Comeback. And they also did some continuous improvement at the end of the program and added a couple of other things on there. So as we come through, we see there's a summary template here, and this includes, as you'll see here on the left, as I remove information, this is all dynamic. If this was a mistake, I can add that here. And then we've got subsections within each part of the case record. We do household, structure, risks, impacts, vulnerabilities. The tabs are organized to track largely, although not 100%, but largely with the recovery timeline here. It's just enough information to establish who they are, contact information, and record information around client consent to release information and how were they referred and other essential contact information for alternates or other proxy individuals who might be, if somebody was hospitalized, those sorts of things. Now, as we move across the tabs, we get more detailed information. This is a primary client record with a household structure. So what that means is you're talking with John or Jane McQueen, and you're recording all of the household members in the household tool. So this is the person, the individual you're dealing with primarily, and then the household structure will allow you to individualize any of the household members and capture their name, address, language, and other impacts from the disaster. The tabs are organized, so each section is a tab, and then these subsections can be rolled up. So if you're, maybe you're trying to look at pre-disaster living situation, income and expenses a little bit more, or maybe you're just trying to start with everything rolled up and then work through the sections and open and close them as you're working. It's a feature. Sometimes I find as I'm navigating, I accidentally click it and it rolls up and I go, oh, shucks. I got to go back and click that. So something to keep in mind. We also have we're fully integrated with Google. So let me get the wrong address. About 5 or 6 keystrokes for most addresses will show up in the box. You select it, standardizes all the entries, puts everything. If you still need to make adjustments, that is possible. You can figure out all the things you need about the pre-disaster living situation, the damage assessment, largely with FEMA's damage classifications, but you could use any square footage of the home, insurance. And then this is from where they were, and this is to where they are. These may be the same address, obviously, but looking to capture their current address. There may be program decisions around when to capture individuals who perhaps are in a disaster shelter and those sorts of things. Now, here's the recovery planning tool. This allows for you to establish goals. So as we at intake identify that there is adult education and job training needs, I can go in here, select that, and put in any sorts of goals, start date, and the goal status. I'm going to go ahead and leave that blank just to keep it easy. Now here we're going to stop for a little bit longer because this ties in directly to what we're dealing with today, and that's agency referrals. So here we are at the agency referral. So at this point, you've established a case record, some vulnerabilities. Maybe you have been working on establishing goals. Like I said, this aligns largely with the timeline, but many times at intake, you might want to refer someone to a program or assistance during the response phase. It's not rigid, it's just a rough timeline to help organize. You can search for agency referrals, and what we're going to be dealing with today is management of everything that shows up here. Our tools are in use. With, I've got my screen expanded. That's why you're seeing the kind of crunched up. It makes the text bigger for you and clearer on the video. So this would not appear this way on your screen. So I can go ahead and select a referral. And here it's a recovery service. You can put in the units. The units are open-ended. Units can be, in this case, maybe it's hours of case management or other services. You can indicate whether it's referred or provided, the date, and the service provided. You may find that the date is much better than the checkboxes. We can turn the checkboxes on and off as needed. That's a configuration option, super simple. So at this point, I've got enough information to record an agency referral. I can just as easily, if I need to, add two of them at once. I don't have to just do one at a time. I won't fill it out again, but that's the general workflow for adding agency referrals. Now, the rest of the case record is really straightforward. These are all the indicators on this tab for advocacy. These are the big ticket items. Obviously, FEMA individual assistance, including ONA or the needs assessment, and then also long-term recovery group and disaster loans. We also have support here for other kinds of loans that may be outside of any federal, state, or local programs. Some programs have added fields for community development block grant here, tracking the participation in that program. That's something that is of great value to FEMA, to be able to demonstrate outcomes for not only your DCMP clients, but also it's a bit of a Venn diagram for those in the community development block grant recovery program. You can also include there the value of awards and such. It's not designed to track any of the material goods. HUD has its own platform for doing that, but it's really just a tracking tool. So then you can run reports and identify how many of your clients are participating in that program, whether or not they're having challenges, whether or not their resources, they're able to access those resources. And then finally, at the back end of the tail, we have the case status, case progression. Now, case progression was innovation coming out of the Disaster Case Management Committee at National VOAD. What they were looking at is within the FEMA program, it's very easy to count new registrations, new recovery plans created, a number of referrals. But at that point, it gets hard to determine where all of your individual cases, as well as where all the cases are. So as you are working with a client in your caseload, you can get a sense of case progression, and it's a good tool for supervisors to see how quickly different case managers are moving different priority level cases through the different stages of the recovery. This is also really helpful across all of the cases. So as you're whether you're in month 6 or month 16, being able to see where everyone is, it really helps understand not only staffing implications, different skills doing intake versus longer term case management, but also the effectiveness of the program towards the end, to be able to demonstrate to your grant officer that a 90-day extension would be really useful, because you're still in the advocacy phase for more than 40% of your clients or something like that. Just making that number up. You can also do case manager assignments. Sorry, my system is in there. And then I can put in any of the other people as supervisors, the level of contact. You can upload case notes, follow-up information, case notes, disaster case management program information. One last tab is tucked away. You'll see this cog here. That's a smart field. These are throughout our platform. These allow for information to be made available on screen when it's most appropriate. The only time for case closure is during when cases are being closed. So tucking it away there makes it easier. Something to definitely highlight in trainings for those early on who are wondering where the closure tab is. All the other things you are here around satisfaction survey and employment. So we will, I will pause, take a sip of water, break for a little bit of questions if there are any, and then we'll pivot over to the resource manager, and we'll look at how that tool manages the agency services that are made available through the referrals module. I'm not hearing any questions. Feel free, let me see. I'll bring up the chat box. If anyone, I'll put the chat box over here so I can see. And let me just, I'll put in hello, and then everyone will be able to put in, and your chat could be, hold on, I have a question, or it might be the question itself. Time is here for you to understand the process. So there, be rude, interrupt me, get the most out of this, ask the questions that you have, get the answers that I can provide, and hopefully it'll make you more successful and the experience of using Visionlink's tools more enjoyable. So I'm going to go over here. When you log in to Client Connect or to the system, you will see a landing page if you have access. If you do not see the Client Connect button on your last or the landing page, speak with a supervisor or someone to indicate how you gain access. When you get into here, we're going to go through and just do a resource search really quick to get an orientation, and then I'm going to build one up from the ground. This is a resource management tool that's used by dozens of 211 operators at the state level across the country. There is tremendous amount of power that's tucked away in the corners, and we'll share some of those. There are additional tools that are locked within the system and available through additional upgrades to our INR package if that's a value. So we go through for the agency search criteria, just like any of our forms. Any entry form can be a search form. Any entry form can be also included in export. So again, those recovery needs, if you're looking for specific, these are like tags, right? You're trying to just put a stamp on, this is for this is for that. It helps simplify the training, simplify the searching, and hopefully make it better for the client in terms of the services that they receive. So some kind of service may be tucked away. You may also have ones that are double tagged if there are programs that are related there. So I can go ahead and search, and this will bring up all the different ones. And I can go through here. One thing to remember, you'll see here, this is agency, this is service, and these are service. If you're clicking on the search results and you want to change the agency information, let's bring this up, like open on CADRE, it will bring up the information related to the agency. And then right over here, it's smart. It knows you're looking at recovery services, and I can right click on that, and that will bring up the service itself. If you navigate to the service, don't worry. You can just click on recovery services and access the service from the agency. So there's no wrong way of doing it, just different ways of accessing the information. We can put in all the sites the service is available at. You'll see here the list of sites. They are, it's type ahead, so you do need to reference that list and start typing to be able to, if you want 2, 3, 4, however many sites are available, if you select the wrong one, you can always select exit out. I won't go into all the details around intake and eligibility. These are pretty straightforward. Everything from language, those can be added on if you have Vietnamese speaking populations or any language, Chinese, the whole gamut of languages could be added there, depending on the services provided. Then at the bottom here, this information is really about maintaining the data in the system. This is the biggest challenge for, at the beginning of a recovery effort where, hundreds and thousands of, hundreds of agencies and thousands of services are surging in for a large-scale catastrophic event like Hurricane Harvey or Superstorm Sandy. And this gives you a way of putting in information related to the updates of this. So it can be updated. You can capture the verification information. You can put, you can select any of the assigned resource managers, the date of the last complete update, and all the individuals show up there. And that's it. It's that easy. Now, CADRE, you're on the phone with CADRE. Not only do they have recovery services, but they have also begun a housing assistance program. You can select the plus and put in housing assistance. You put in any information, select the site that applies to it by typing, and you can type any letter. So I've typed a D and it comes up with headquarters or downtown office. We'll select downtown. And then we'll do the geographic area served. We can select Santa Clara city or county. If I select county, I can narrow down specific zip codes. And I can also remove that. Remember the recovery needs, these are tags. Anything that's appropriate, you can add that in there. I'm not going to save this. It's just the training environment, but just want to give you information, hours of operation, service contact details, service details, what do you need, a driver's license, utility bill, is there any sort of fee associated with it? And then we have to set them all to active and select a record owner. And then also be able to decide the assigned resource manager. This will help you manage resources over time. And now we're going to go on. We've got the agency. We've got agency that delivers services, and those services are delivered at specific sites. It's all really tied into a very straightforward structure. So you'll be able to put in the name of the site, the address. This is the city zip lookup, which some people find helpful. I like doing the type ahead, so I can just go ahead and select, and all that pre-populates the. If I just type in that, it will only put in the city, county, and state information. I can put in notes. Maybe there's a mailing address, or if there's a confidential address, maybe it's a specific office where that information is not being sent to or shared with the clients. This does not appear anywhere but in the back office. And then all the things you would expect: name, number, fax number, website, email address to contact them, as well as access for people with disabilities. So if there's a specific entrance that they need to use to access the doors and elevators, appropriately, that can all be captured there. And then you're just going ahead and you're submitting that information. That is the overview of how it's structured. I'll pause for a second, and then we'll go in and we'll build a brand new agency, and then we'll go search for it in the system and see how it all pulls together. Any questions, either in the chat or raise your hand. Well, hearing none, we'll continue to go forward. And again, use the chat, and I'm going to go through all the buttons. So you come in, you've logged in, you've got your fresh cup of coffee, you're going through, and then you want to go start add a resource. This button is not available to all users, but resource coordinators, and I believe disaster case management supervisors. So if you are not seeing that, that would be available. So let's see here if I'm going through and I have another, maybe it's, oops, it's not typing. And then select other language. So I'm setting up an agency up here. This agency allows me to organize. I can put the legal status, the IRS status, licenses or accreditations. You'll notice that as we're building out the profile, some of these data points are exactly the same, and some of them are only on certain ones. So they have context to them. Depending on which form you're on, you get different fields. And these should apply to the agency itself. So maybe Catholic Charities has a downtown office, and that downtown office has 9 to 5 hours, but there are crisis services that are available round the clock. The hours of operation for Catholic Charities would pertain specifically to the main agency, and then when you add a crisis counseling, perhaps, service, you would have that it's 24/7. There are also more tools you'll see when we get to them to define the hours of operation. I won't go through and build the entire profile, but you can see all the things that you would want to capture: email, website, social media, agency contact detail, director's information, who is the person in charge that we need to coordinate with at that level, this status, whether or not it's active, inactive, on hold, as well as any of the other information. I won't go through every piece of this, just the things, the bare minimums to that are the most common things you'll see in disaster. Now, all of our tools are mobile responsive, so if you get fields that are scrunched up a little bit on a desktop, you can zoom in and have access to this. You can have the review, whether it was completed, and indicate these are actually locked in their time sequence, so I'm unable to do these because it's tied to the next update. But now I'm going to go ahead and submit. Now, when I get in, I've saved it. You'll notice 2 more plus signs. And these are for adding services and sites. I can go back in here at any time and update that, but I'm going to go ahead and let's do childcare. And there are no service sites. So some people like to go and create a service site first so they can do one-stop shopping. The taxonomy should be turned off here. Apologies. I think I just Over here, I'm going to go to service. And my service name is childcare. I can select the geographic area served. I can select recovery needs. Again, the phone number, hours of operation, all the things that you're seeing that are selected, language, it's active, update details, and the assigned resource manager. So you can assign this to a specific individual to help them track the resources that they're managing. If your program has 10 or 20 individuals managing resources, it really helps them for locating their profiles they're responsible for, because they could just search and say, show me all of my resources I'm responsible for, and then you can check the corresponding last date of update as well as last date of edit. And again, these are all same fields. We use standards across our platform, and I'll go ahead and say, so now we've got the service, and now we're going to do a site. And let's go do downtown office. And I apologize, I do not have, and again, I selected the city street lookup there. I told you I like to do the address lookup, fills all the information in, the mailing address. It's not required, so I can leave them blank. And I can do in the site details and access information. Again, each of these applies to each of the levels of the profile. But in staff notes, update details, and date of last updates and such. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that. Now I've got the downtown office. I can go back in and select the services of childcare and select the downtown office. You could choose to do it in site first and then the service, if you like that. It saves it a little bit of foot traffic going back and forth. And that's it. It's pretty straightforward. So now that we've done this, we've got a child care service under Catholic Charity, Santa Clara County, and it's been tagged with children and youth services. Now let's go back here, and I'm going to go ahead and reset my search. And I'm going to, fingers crossed, I'm going to search, and then there it is. I can go through, I can select my new service. There's a little pop-up here with the eye that may be helpful. There's some basic information that shows up. So if you're a caseworker and you're just trying to case manager, and you're trying to figure out a little bit more about before you record the referral, you can select that. My screen is scrunched up, so I will undo that so it's a little bit more easy to read. And now I've got childcare. I can put in the number of units, the amount, status, and all of that. And it's just that straightforward. And then I can go through there. Any questions?
Yeah, this is Marcia. Can this information be exported?
Indeed.
Okay, that would be helpful. Could information be imported?
Indeed, and those are the next ports of call. If we're
okay, cool.
We'll do the search, export, and import it. I had the other form up for the import.
My question is, when we assign another resource manager, when we're making the referral, how are they notified?
So we have tools within the system to allow for you to search if you're a resource manager to find the updates. You also should get an email in your box. There, in some of those disaster tools that I mentioned earlier, INR tools, there are recovery manager tools that allow you to, resource manager tools that allow you to see by agency. And then also you can do closed loop or active loop referrals, where you're notifying the receiving agency, and they're either able to provide a response related to the services, whether or not they are rendered, or you can just let them know, hey, John McQueen is heading your way for some adult education and job training. Those are outside of the current configuration. All of our tools have a number of different core modules. The case management module includes a slimmed down disaster case management focused resource manager. But if there are needs to see, we can certainly demo for Marcia the more advanced resource management tools for identifying and notifying.
And then my second question was, I'm not quite understanding what the unit and amount, what information goes there.
Sure, we'll do another one. Let's just reset. We'll do search. Recovery services, you got to select the agency and the name to make sure you're putting the information on. And again, you want have a really squished up screen on your side. I'll select that. The units will be will change based on the service. So you might have recovery services, which are an hourly, it's a human service. So it might be 3 units, and there isn't necessarily a thing that says that, you know, this unit is one type. What you could do is, let's see here, and some of our customers do this. There we go. And we refresh this, referrals, and then search, childcare, Catholic charities. Did I not? Oh, I selected CADRE. Oops, apologies. That's no worries. We'll just go ahead and reset that. I think you get the point of how this will work. It's not showing up. Hold on a second. Not sure if I search. Let me confirm. It's CADRE, recovery services. And let's just do the one second. Resource manager. And we'll bring this up. This will be our next point is and we'll hit submit. Hopefully this time it works. Oh. There it goes. So as you select that, and this would be something you would do at the management level to provide clarity, or you could say hourly. There's 12 hours or 2 hours. The amount would be the total value. And the other pieces would be pretty much self-indicated. So you may have financial assistance, and the units would be dollars. You may have, bulk items, clothing, and those might be bags or boxes. You would want to indicate that on the name of the service to help you understand that. Some of that's going to be program guidance. We do get this a bit, but that's the best way to sort of manage that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Well, hearing no other questions, we'll move on to the exports and the imports. So here, we'll go here. The import process is restricted to certain user types, typically the resource coordinator and data manager, as well as, or sorry, the data manager and the system administrator, but those are files that can be sent via email or other mechanisms to upload. We'll go through that. So here, we're gonna, just like with the search, we wanna, you're a resource manager, you're responsible for all of CADRE's resources. You're gonna search to preview. And then you'll be able to say, yep, this is it. There's two approaches you have. One, if you just need the ID, the agency name, the fields that are shown here, you can hit the download results and I'll give you just a snapshot. You may want the whole agency service and site record. And then so what I would do is put in that there's this resource. And then this is, maybe I'd put in CADRE, and I did use lowercase intentionally. Uppercase, I like to do the kind of export it is. If I'm a data manager and I'm doing a lot, if you're just doing one, then you won't have this problem. Put the information in there and then include the days of the date for today. That's important because this becomes the name of the file. And if you're making this export 5 or 6 times a day, 12 months into the program, you'll be able to quickly identify which export you're looking for and also be able to quickly delete those from your download folder as needed. Now you're going to not necessarily see all of these. I have admin access, so I see all the different form sets. So right now, you should see disaster resources, and I can export that. Now, you'll get a message here, which you could ignore. Just click dismiss. That's called a snack bar message. I'm not quite sure why. I think it was a developer's joke about being a bar. And we'll move over to the import tool. I don't have the import tools configured up there, so I do have to go in the side door here. And here's our disaster resource import tool. When this loads up, it'll have all the information. I'm able to put import, and then this will allow me to download a copy of the resources. The import tool is fairly advanced, and it is a separate training, but I will show you the sort of basic steps. We will need to set up an additional training for imports. The exports we'll get through today, but the imports really are very specific. I do need to stop sharing my screen for a moment, and I'm going to share Excel. Oh, that is nice. Hold on a second. It's telling me if I hold shift, I can share 2 windows. And awesome, that's amazing. So here, and this, you're probably staring at this going, yes, Jim was right. This is a little bit more advanced. This is a technical feature. The tools are powerful, allows for us to quickly, I'm going to try to zoom this in and then update that. I'm going to spread these out a little bit. You'll see each of the fields has a field name and then the kind of field that it is. These track with all the fields that are on. So the address, mailing address, another address, these are in the order in which they data, phone, and you'll notice here that they have helpers, right? These are pointers to let you know how to format the data. If you put in, if you format the phone number like this, again, I won't do a full training, but that will not import, and you'll get a very kind message saying try again. The process allows for you to find the agency. You can just select specific. So if you just want to put in the agency name and then a service and a site, that can be done. So here's the tab is broken up, just like you saw on the screen. There are different ways in which you're able to do that. So I'm going to open this up a little bit, zoom in a little. So you're seeing the same thing here at the service level. The first few fields are all unchangeable and you can ignore those. So I'm going to go through. And so if I have recovery needs, if I have a status, those can be added right there, as well as for the site. So again, I just want to be very clear, this is not a how-to, but here's kind of an introduction. So what we need to do is get back to the export. This will take me a second to find I have a couple of windows here. And that's not where I want to be. One more. And then I'm going to bring this. Now you should be able to see this is the email that you will receive when you get an export. It just immediately notifies you, has the basic information. Then I can click on the file name, it pops up. And now all this, the import, I'm going to go ahead and close this. Now, this has all the information. It's just pulling CADRE. So we just have one agency, provides the ID and all the fields associated with that program. This is designed for a data manager. This is not something where you're expected to be able to do this right out of the gate. But we do support full round trip exports and import. As you notice, when I just closed the import file, because we can just use this export. It should be the same file structure as the import tool. And I could make edits to this. So if I wanted to change, you need to leave the agency IDs alone. But if you wanted to make change.
I don't think we can see what you're looking at.
Okay. Oh, I think I see why. Thank you. It's now I need to do. How about now?
There you go. It went away.
And give me 1 second, get back to Excel. There it goes. Technology is fascinating, but it doesn't always. And then.
Okay, yes, we can see that.
You can see the Excel spreadsheet?
Yes.
Oh, perfect.
Thank you.
Here, if let's say we wanted to do, maybe it's, you wanted to break off lines of service, right? Disaster and response or something. You could just append the name however you needed to in this spreadsheet. If you needed to change, and again, think that there are 500 here, right? So you want to change recovery services to housing assistance, or you want to add housing assistance, right? All of that information that you see here, you're provided with the format. If the information is the same, like you're adding 10 new services, you can just copy and pull them down if they track the same for addresses and hours and such. So there are tips to help when you're in Excel. If we need to, probably likely we can set up a more in-depth training around resource management. But those are sort of the wave tops around that. Does that make sense? as sort of an overview to what the capabilities are?
Yes.
Yeah, I know it's Eva. I know it's technical, and so the scope of today's training was more around the on-screen manager. We'll set up another training for the more technical exports and import process. We'll get through the basics on exports today, and then we can set up a follow-on session, and we can also request we can do some one-on-one skill building as well. You may need some additional help as you're getting up and rolling. The good news is the input forms, that your entry forms you're seeing, are very easy to master and get that information in. The export tools allow you to sort of manage all those and copy and updates via spreadsheets. And then the import tools, once we get that training, will allow you to go through and do that. So here we are. Now, you remember I did that resource CADRE. I won't import this file, but that would allow for me to do the same thing. If I mess up, I can go through and select another one, and that would be it. And it would go through and churn through the system, work through each row and update the agency, service, and site information. We'll find some time to do a deeper dive onto the exports and imports, but the exports are very straightforward in terms of, let's go through here to home. And I'm just going to go through here. I can select, and then we'll just do a quick recap. There's a couple of extra minutes, and then we'll stop for questions. If I just want to look for cases, whoops, I was in the resource search. I don't have an export button set up here, but we could have one. Let me find we have our export button. So just recapping the export process, you come through. If you're looking for specific kinds of needs, maybe you just want everything and just run search. This will give you your set. Again, you can download the results or you can export. For the export process, file name is here. And you can put in any description you want. And then you'll probably only see one or two possibilities for doing exports. We can set up the import to be the same form as the export so that those are in sync, so you can do round trips, and effectively they are by default, but that saves you that problem of having to do any editing, so you can do quick round trip edits and updates. And then I just hit export, and then I'll pull all the information. You'll get an email when it's ready. Any questions around the export process? This is designed to really focus on the Visionlink side of the export process. There are certainly some tips and tricks for working with the data in Excel. Happy to help you navigate some of how our data is structured. And then there are tons of resources on YouTube for pulling those reports and doing some analytics, if that's helpful. And we're almost at the top of the hour. Any other questions? Any comments to close this out?
I have a question. So I should have all the agencies or resources added into the system before we go live, right? That would be the ideal.
That's optimal, right? You want all of your resources in there. Other things, other strategies you could approach is you could go through, and lots of programs do this even when they have tons of referrals in there is to simply add an agency called generic referrals, and then you could put in, you know, clothing. You'll see here all I have to do, these get built out very quickly. And maybe it's another service, elder care, right? Whatever the needs are. And now at least you've got something. So day one, you may want to go with the generic referrals list just to be able to capture where things are going, because you'll get credit from FEMA. And then those could be either amended or updated later in the system. So that would be the best approach. But yes, optimal that you would have at least a baseline of referrals, and then maybe there's a you know, a generic referrals list for gaps that you have.
Okay, thank you.